Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku Was the Only Male with Quirk in a World Ruled by Women, Massive Harem Part 4. Before we start, please go support ancalagonintheblack for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear. Deku is male in this story. Chapter 24. After the girls went through the same thing with the green-haired man, leaving him in his room, although he had to tell him part of the truth, he was now in some trouble since in front of him was the group of villains, and the problem was that he was tied up. Since during the night they could not leave him free in the room, as if nothing had happened, and to make matters worse, having an anti-Quirk collar, he could not do anything about it against the villains who were going towards him. All for one. Look, my dear beloved and future husband and father of my children, look so vulnerable right now. He said it while he walked around the green-haired man who he only managed to watch attentively, although he was looking for a way to escape. All for one. You look so vulnerable and at the same time rapeable. He began to notice how the other villains approached with a smile on their faces, causing the boy to only begin to try to free himself, but to no avail. Tomu. Teacher, if you let me, I would like to be the first to fully enjoy it. All for one. No, remember that I have to be the first. He gave me a lot of problems during the fight, so I have to be the first. He said it, climbing onto the bed while the green-haired man was trying to tear his clothes a little, looking at his body and licking his lips. All for one. Without a doubt I'm going to enjoy it like you can't imagine. Izuku, you'll be mine. Izuku. Well, don't even think this will be so easy. All for one. I can imagine it, your seed will be mine. She said it with a seductive tone while she began to lick part of her body to tear the green-haired boy's clothes even more, and between her and the other villains, they began to touch her entire body, making it increasingly worse for Izuku to try to do things. Until at one point he noticed how they began to remove his restraints. All for one. That will not be a foul. Izuku. Well, you made a mistake. In one movement he managed to get out of bed to get a little further away from the villains. When he looked in their direction, All for one was already in front of him, taking him by the neck and smashing him against the wall, putting him in real trouble. All for one. You keep fighting despite having no escape this time, it's what attracts me the most about you. Izuku. Well, your love is a little hard, don't you think? The villain only laughed at that. All for one. Maybe so. He said it while kissing the green-haired man, touching parts of his body each time, causing the friend downstairs to start betraying something that the villain liked, but at one point they heard the door open, so they could see what the conditions were like. Girls. Melissa. What do you think they're doing? Kuro. It's not obvious we want to spend some time with him. Momo. That's good, but I don't think this way is the right way right now. Tomu. How dare you? Before she continued speaking she was interrupted by her teacher. All for one. No need, Tomu, let this continue for another day, I'll see you in another time, my beloved. She said it herself while she licked the green-haired boy a little and let him fall. All for one. Let's go, we have to sleep. Saying that, everyone went to sleep peacefully in the place while Tomi, Melissa and Momo entered, going directly to where Izuku was, who was just getting up. Izuku. I guess I have to thank them for that, but why did they come back? Melissa. I heard something before that the villains were planning to do something like this, so we just decided to come back. Izuku. Well, that makes me a little happy, but if they leave me, I have to go back to what I do. When he went to bed he noticed how the girls closed the door so they could lie down in the same bed. Izuku. What are you doing? Melissa. If we want to avoid them doing that to you again then we'll stay. Tomi. Besides, we don't know if they are going to try to come back. Izuku. I suppose there is no other option. They began to try to sleep, but there was a problem between the four of them, although more so with Momo, since she was with a green-haired boy, while Melissa was on the left side and Tomi was on the right. Momo. Hey Izuku, I think I can't sleep. She said it since Izuku's friend was still awake and was touching the raven's ass and a little more, making her blush, so something that Izuku could understand to start talking. Izuku. I'm sorry, I don't know how to lower it, this is all for one's fault and his crazy obsession with me. Lemon skipped, please read it on website. Izuku. What did you think of that? Momo. It was good in part. Melissa. We can improve, though. She said it, taking one of the black woman's buttocks, which she trembled a little because of. Tomi. It's true, next time it will be more fun. She said it so that the four of them were hugging each other so they could sleep without knowing that they were seen by someone. All for one. Those miserable girls were ahead of me, but if they want it this way then next time I will grape all four of them together if necessary, but by myself. She said it to leave the place in the darkness. Chapter 25. After the night the girls had with Izuku being seen from afar by All for one, who was partly quite angry, but took it as a challenge to be able to have the green-haired man under her feet now at Izuku's door. He was dating the girls being seen by some of the school students, causing them to begin to whisper among themselves about the couple that was being formed. Melissa. It seems like they didn't take long to start talking about this. Momo. They probably think that we bucked with Izuku, and that's why now they only talk because we left her room or rather her mini prison. Izuku? That's partly what happened, although luckily they prevented me from being raped. They saw how the class approached at full speed to get in front of the four who almost got nervous, since on Tomi's side, she had to be relaxed, Momo did appear to be nervous, Izuku was simply calm, and Melissa was like Izuku's spy knew how to stay calm. Mina. The three of them just left Izuku's room. Melissa. Yes, and what does that have? Uraraka. How can you ask that question? It obviously has a lot to do with it, since that can mean certain things. Tomi. Like which ones? Jiru. That the four of them bucked in other words. By saying that they only showed more nerves, but miraculously the girls couldn't see it. Melissa. What happens is that yesterday the villains almost raped Izuku and we had to try to prevent it. Momo. It's true, but imagine that we train the next day and find Izuku in bed lying completely naked with other villains. Saying that, the girls stayed thinking until they saw how an ash-haired girl approached and stood in front of Izuku. Kasumi. To me it sounds quite logical, but don't forget that you are mine, no matter how many girls come in front of you, you have to remember that you are mine. Izuku. What makes you think I'm going to do something like that? Kasumi. Because unlike the other extras, I am worth it and the future number one needs the strongest man. When saying that, the three girls simply became jealous, but they had to avoid letting it show otherwise they would be discovered until they saw a green-haired girl approach. Izumi. Better stay calm Kasumi, first of all mom wants to see you, she hasn't seen you in a while, and now we need to talk about many things with you. Izuku. Excuse me but I don't have a family so you can't send me anything. At that he was grabbed by the neck chain, making him get closer to the girl. Izumi. Listen well, you can't command me or tell me anything because I am the one in control of everything while you simply obey, and now I want an explanation of why you say that. Izuku. When I activated my quirk completely and it was in the battle against All For One, I was able to make my DNA change, so I am no longer a Midoriya, we have not been brothers for a long time. Before they continued talking they heard the bell ring causing them to start walking towards classes, but something was happening in the thoughts of some girls. Kasumi's thoughts. Now that he is no longer Midoriya can make crazy Izumi interested in him, I don't have to let that happen. Izumi's thoughts. Now that he's not my brother, maybe I can claim him to say we're not of the same blood anymore. They continued walking calmly taking the normal classes until they reached the dining room where they were calmly eating, but they heard footsteps with a voice that went directly to Izuku, who was sitting on the floor as they were trying even harder to possibly humiliate him. All For One. Look at this, you are treating my dear Jade Green badly. At one point he began to feel how they hugged him from behind the neck, even feeling certain breasts of a villain in particular. Kuro. Maybe you want to come with us a little, that way we will take better care of you, we understand that they have to humiliate you, but at least they have to give you a table and a chair. Tomu. I don't know if we have to be that way so much, but if I remember wrongly, he didn't have much love in his childhood, maybe we can give him something. The villains approached the green-haired man, being noticed by the others. Momo. Excuse me, but we have to be with him all the time, so if you excuse us you must leave. All For One. And what does it say that we will listen to a girl? I say it's not that important. At one point they heard footsteps to see someone. Nisa. Excuse me, but I'm afraid I can't let them end up fighting or something like that, please villains have a part where they can be calm, it would be better if they go to their living room. All For One. Well, if you say so, director. Before they left, he approached Momo to whisper something that she only heard. Look, I know everything about your little fun last night. With that, he surprised Momo, who I look at how he walked away from her, starting to walk, although not before saying a few last words to Izuku. By the way, we have to finish what we started. But that she left the place under the gaze of everyone who was calm, and except for Momo who was left wondering how she could see them if she had everything closed in exchange for one of her quirks. After a while everyone was in class. Aiza. Students, we were thinking about how we could explain to you about provisional licenses, and we realized that there is only one way to do it. You saw how a person with blue hair entered the room, we thought that the best way is for one of our best students to tell you. Girl. Hello, my name is Najire. It's a pleasure to meet you. When she said that, everyone was surprised. Mina. It's Najire, it said that she is the strongest girl in the school. Haimi. If I am not mistaken, it is thought that she is the strongest future heroine participating for the position of symbol of peace, since she is a girl who is quite close to the professionals. Najire. It's a pleasure to meet each and every one of you. Just like the original story, he began to go through the different benches asking questions without letting the girls finish answering until he reached the bottom where he stared at Izuku, who was standing with a rather cold look. Najire. Hello, it seems that you are this Izuku, that powerful boy who managed to stand up to all those professionals. Izuku. And you're Najire. From the expressions on all the girls' faces, I can easily tell that you are someone important in this school if I'm not wrong. Najire. Just as you said, I am something important but you are something else, something of greater value to both men and women. I notice how he sharpened his gaze, noticing a more playful tone apart from being serious. I also understand that they ask you questions about where your friends may be there, but you don't want to respond. Izuku. If I don't want to answer then I won't do it, I may be many things, but I'm not a traitor. The two of them stared at each other, making the tension of the place clear, until it was interrupted by a girl from the class. Kasumi. Hey, extra, don't look at it so much, it's my property. Hearing Kasumi's voice, I turned my gaze from her to put it on Kasumi, who showed something serious and angry. Najire. You are Kasumi, someone quite strong, if not I'm wrong, you were great at the sports festival. But that they all looked at Aiza, who showed a bored look. Aiza. It's okay, they can fight, just try not to be so rude. Najire. Whatever. With that, everyone went to change, being ready for the fight, although Izuku watched everything from the stands. Najire. I hope they give me some fight, it would be a disappointment if in a moment the whole class will end up being weak. Kasumi. You'll see. Tomi. We can't trust each other. Aiza. Begin. But that they began to fight, which happened like in the fight against Mirio, but this time with Najire, who managed to keep them at bay as if they were nothing before them, especially that she left them lying on the floor while she was flying by her enzyme. Najire. Too bad you are not even ready for the world that will be prepared for you, let's do something, I will give you a little lesson to know what is going to happen later. Izuku. Hey Najire, stop fighting, they're already defeated. Najire. It seems like someone wants to get involved, so let me tell you that I don't care, I have to do it. He said it to begin preparing an attack in the direction of the girls, launching a fairly large cloud of dust, but as he left he saw how the girls were protected by a stone roof, which was simply supported by pillars which began to leave, causing them to fall. The girls will look surprised at this. Najire. What happened? Professor Cementos is missing and none of them have an earth quirk. At one point she noticed how Izuku was standing next to her, who tried to give her a blow that she was able to dodge to get away from her, while Izuku, using some fire, was able to land before everyone's eyes. Najire. What? You are supposed to have an anti-quirk necklace. At that point I noticed how he took a breath of air, while a little blood came out of his body. How interesting, you have so much power that you were able to use it. That necklace is made to be able to suppress the power of its wearer, but yes, the power is greater than expected. It tires him immediately due to the enormous power he must use, apart from generating damage to his body. I knew you were strong, but I never thought how strong. Izuku. Well, I'm glad you said that, but it's all over now, leave it alone. Najire. Okay, I leave them to it, but you're not going to save yourself from me. She said it as she flew away before Izuku looked on. Izuku's thoughts. Great, another crazy one for the list. The boy simply watched as he left to see the girls. Soon they were all leaving the infirmary while Izuku was in his room, although three girls were talking to each other. Momo. Hey, I don't know how, but All for One knows what happened between Izuku and us. Melissa. What? That must be impossible. Tomi. In exchange, one of her hundreds of quirks has helped her. Momo. We have to be more careful now with her movements. Saying that, the girls became a little more serious as they walked. Chapter 26. At the UA lately things were beginning to be a scandal, since the girls increasingly wanted to get closer to Izuku, who was only cared for by the girls who did not leave a free passage, although the villains did try to do something about it to be able to get closer, with All for One being the one. He could have had more close encounters with Izuku, almost raping him if it weren't for Melissa, Tomi and Momo, although little by little the others got closer. Now Izuku was in his room cell. Izuku. Vala, there's just a little more left and I'll have all my strength again, I just have to wait a little to fight again. At one point he began to hear how they began to open the door and some girls who were not his three loved ones began to enter. Izumi. Well, we have this in the locked room. Kasumi. It looks very cute inside that place. Izuku. Now what do you want? At one point he saw how a girl began to appear, a white-haired girl with a horn. Her clothes were obviously new and she was moving carefully as if she were afraid. Karishi. Now Izuku would like you to meet Eri, she is a girl we found with a villain. Izumi. In fact, I was able to find her and I had to rescue her from her. Izuku. Hello little one, it seems we'll see you now. He said it while the girl only approached while in front of him. Eri. Who are you? Izuku. My name is Izuku, it's nice to meet you. Eri. And why did they leave you locked in this place? Izuku. Let's say I can do certain things that other men can't do, that makes me special. Eri. That's interesting. Uraraka. Now Eri, we will have to go, we must show you many things. She said it while they took the girl walking to the exit, but not before the girls took advantage of the moment, so that each of them ended up giving a kiss to Izuku, who could only accept it because she had no other choice. Izumi. We'll be back soon. Kasumi. And when we do we're going to have a fun time. She said it to leave, although before closing the door, they saw how all for one, Tomu and Kuro were in front of them. Izumi. What do you want? Tomu. Nothing in particular, we just want to spend some time with Izuku if it doesn't bother them. Kasumi. Actually yes he does. Kuro. Anyway we want to spend a little time just that and give him a small gift. All for one. Especially me more than anyone else. Izumi. Okay, it can happen for a few moments, but not for long, I'm going to stay to prevent them from trying to do something. She said it as she came to stand aside at the door just so the three villains could enter. Izuku. Well my personal rapists who failed at every moment of trying. All for one. Don't worry, we didn't come to grape you, not just yet. Tomu. We just want to do something. With that, both Kuro and Tomu went on to give Izuku a kiss, who couldn't do anything about it, before the villains took advantage of the moment to leave, until it was all for one's turn, who only ended up sitting on top of the young man while he passed his hands around his neck. All for one. If it doesn't bother you, I would like to use a quirk on you, that way we can get along better than before. Izuku. I don't think that really helps much, I mean I'm someone who doesn't need another quirk. At one point the woman started to kiss him, making a light pass through his mouth until she separated, leaving a thread of saliva that connected them. All for one. What I did to you is a little quirk of lust, it allows me to make you do almost everything I tell you apart from the fact that we will always want to have a very fun time every time we touch each other. Izuku. I don't think all for one will work at all. At one point he ended up with the woman's finger on her lips, making him unable to speak and partly not knowing why he liked her. All for one. Please, for you I miss Maiko, that way you'll call me every time we see each other. She said it with a smile while she gave him one more kiss and went on to leave the place walking, while Izuku was only left blowing steam from his mouth. After a while, Izuku's three lovers arrived and saw the young man on the floor, only to go to where he was. Momo. What happened? Izuku. The villains entered just that. Melissa. What we were missing was they took advantage of the moment to do something bad to you like the other time. Izuku. In fact, they only gave me a kiss each, that's all, but all for one had an effect on me with a quirk. Tomi. What is it about? Izuku. It's just that I'm going to want to sleep with her every time we see each other or touch each other, and I'm going to follow her orders. Melissa. That's all now if I kill her. The three girls were really furious inside regarding villain number 1, they already saw how she tried to flirt with Izuku, apart from making more efforts to have him, but nothing to the point of using one of her many quirks. Izuku. I don't think they can do anything, just wait to see what we can do later to get this out of me. She said it while the girls were just trying to calm down. Melissa. Okay, I guess you've already met Eri. Momo. We better take you to see her for a bit, the girls say that Eri liked your presence. She said it as they began to leave with Izuku, although obviously still tied with that necklace and chain, towards the patio where upon arriving they only saw Eri playing with the other girls, until she saw Izuku to go to where the young man was. Eri. Hello Izuku, it seems like they already let you out. Izuku. Yes, they said I would be able to spend some time with you if it didn't bother you. Eri. Actually it doesn't bother me, I would like to spend some time with you, never spend it with a boy. Izuku. Well, you really never had it, let's spend some time and I would like you to tell me something about your life. Eri. I don't think you'll care, she's too bad. He said it while he was sad. Izuku. Nothing happens, I'm in the same situation because when I was your age, everyone treated me badly except my best friends, I had to escape from home, form an organization that little by little became bigger. Eri. I think I can tell you a few things. He said it while he started talking to Izuku, starting to tell him everything he was going to have to know, making some of the place angry because they knew how badly they treated a girl hanging out. Izuku. Vala never thought something like that would happen, it really surprises me. Eri. Yes, it's something bad. Izuku. Well I think you have nothing to fear, from now on I'm going to protect you. He said it while he gave the girl a smile, before she did anything they began to feel tremors only for a part of the UA was destroyed when a rather large woman entered who had a mask. Izuku. Who is she? Eri. She is Rikia of the 8 Precepts of Death, she came for me. She said it while the villainess began to advance with everyone giving some blows, making her way towards Eri who was behind Izuku who put a hand in front of the girl. Izuku. You can stay calm, I'll take care of her, I won't have any problems doing it. She said it while the villain approached to hit Izuku making him think that she was going to fly away, but instead she stayed in the still place while she endured the blow. Rikia. You ignorant brat never had to get involved. Izuku. Well you just made a mistake. As they said that, some saw how the anti-quirk collar came to fall. Izuku. And it was releasing my power, Earth Pillar. She said it by raising her hand causing a huge pillar of earth to hit the villain's stomach, causing her to be in the air until she touched the ground. Izuku. Now 2 claps. But that, two earth hands were present, one lifting the villain so that she collided with the other hand, making a cloud of dust from which the wounded villain fell. Rukia. Damn, you're that Quirk brat. Izuku. Indeed, remember this name Izuku, the one who killed you, incineration. But that, an enormous amount of fire was present against the villain, hitting her squarely, causing her to fall to the floor unconscious due to the burns. Izuku. Are you okay, Eri? She said it while she looked at the girl who only looked at the green-haired boy. Eri? Yes, thank you. Izuku. Okay, now if you allow me I must end this. She said it as she began to walk. Momo. What are you planning to do? Izuku. That villain came for Eri, and it's obvious that they plan to send someone stronger. It's best to finish off that group once and for all. Mina. And what does it tell us that you are going to do it? Izuku. I just promised Eri that I was going to protect her. I can't fail her now, not when I made a promise. Izumi. Then with your help we can fight them. I better tell you where they are. She said it as she handed a map to Izuku, who just looked at it. Izuku. Thanks, I'll take care of everything now. Were her words as he began to walk. Momo. Wait, be careful, you don't know what you might find. Izuku. You can stay calm, anyway, because I do this the women are going to come after me. I think that's going to help. Saying that she just started walking away from all the girls in the place. Chapter 27. The green-haired man was walking towards the house, thinking that he was going to be able to do something with his girl issue, since he was only in front of the house, to which he was going calmly, without having to make many movements until he began to hear something. Izuku. Now what the hell is happening? From one moment to the next, in front of him, he noticed how a suit of blue armor fell with white parts, the head on the left side being white with a light blue eye, and the other side being red with a yellow eye. One side expelled fire and the other ice. Todoroki. Looks like we can meet again, friend. Izuku. Damn Todoroki, it's really good to see you again, you even wear that armor that was made specifically for you. Todoroki. And I didn't come alone. With that, he noticed a part where an armor was approaching, which from how it was shown, he imagined that it was Bakugo because of those dark green and gray parts, and a red X on the chest. Next to him was another armor which was almost entirely gray and had few parts that were red, and from its appearance he knew well that the user of that armor had to be the most manly of his men. Izuku. They really came, I can't believe this. Kirishima. Obviously we were going to have to come, we thought we would take you with us, no matter how possible we have to do it. Bakugo. It's true, we just can't let you go this way, we have to help you, we have to go. Izuku. About that I have to fix certain things and for the moment I have to continue staying at UA. Todoroki. Come on friend, we want you back, the base needs you. Izuku. I know but it's not time yet, I have to count on all of you for the moment. By saying that they could only look at each other while they did not understand it, but they came to know that there was no other way to do things for him. Todoroki. Then at least we are going to help you with this problem. Izuku. Well, let's get started, I'll explain everything you need to know. He said it as he began to walk with everyone. Inside with the precepts of death they only concentrated on things. Overhaul. So we already sent Rukia after Eri, we just have to wait for him to come with the girl. Rappa. I still think they had to send me, there aren't many options. Overhaul. Anyway, he's supposed to come any minute. Tengai. It's not for nothing, but I'm starting to feel a little cold. But that they noticed how the ceiling was freezing until those boys began to enter from it, who could only get in the middle of them all. Kirishima. It seems like we entered this meeting without permission. Shin. So we have more problems than it seems, Rukia didn't bring them up in the end. Todoroki. How do you want to divide the jobs? Izuku. I'll take care of Overhaul, she's more dangerous than she looks, try to go against the rest, but be careful with Rappa, he has enormous brute strength. But that they nodded their heads while looking at the girls who were only preparing for battle. Tengai. It seems that we will have trouble in the best possible way, I can accept this. Rappa. Let's begin. But that he launched himself against him, but at one point he bumped fists only for Kirishima to be the cause of this, who was only serious about such a thing. Kirishima. I'm not going to let you pass in any way, first you're going to have to break my bones. Rappa. You are the shield of your group while I am the spear. Kirishima. Let's see who is stronger. Saying that, their fight began while Todoroki only began to throw himself like the rest, and at one point Bakugo collided with a wall and only saw Tengai who was protecting himself. Tengai. I'm sorry but I'm not going to let you continue. Bakugo. Damn. I'm going to show you what happens when you challenge me. He said it while he began to give his explosions, while Izuku only looked at the villainess who was calm. Overhaul. You're that young man everyone is looking for, I guess I just can't let you go. Izuku. You plan to do experiments with me like you did with Eri, I don't think I can let you go either. In that way he saw how he put his hand on the floor, starting to throw some spikes at him, only for the young man to jump and begin to dodge the spikes, while the electricity began to leave his body, making him have no choice but to begin to attack. Destroy everything that was around him, being that he was going directly to the villainess who, in response to this, made a pillar that hit the green-haired man squarely, who could only receive it fully while he crashed into a wall. Overhaul. Although you are strong, I can see that you still lack too much with your skills. The villainess began to laugh at this until she saw how it completely exploded, as the young man only had a smile, while he did not have a single wound on his body. Izuku. You need more than that to hurt me as it should, believe it or not, there are many things you need. He said it while he launched himself against him, and he had no choice but to start dodging the spikes of the villain who only remained that way. With the rest of the group, Kirishima ended up receiving a blow that made him retreat, only to see the villainess who seemed quite excited about such a thing. Rappa. You're resisting more than I thought because I never imagined it. Kirishima. Despite everything, I cannot give up now. I came as the shield of my group, the man among men that everyone will acclaim me. I am not going to let you pass in any way. But that he only had a smile knowing that what he was facing was a young man who was not going to back down. Rappa. This is funny, you plan to give it your all, I also want to give it your all. Kirishima. Then let's continue until someone ends up falling to the ground. He said it as they began to bump fists, each one having a smile while the rest just stood there. Bakugo. Hey damn half, I imagine you defeated some villains on your side. Todoroki. For the moment, we are doing well so far since we have no problems with some things. Bakugo. That damn barrier is really annoying. Todoroki. Do you want to change places? Bakugo. Do you think I can't handle this? Obviously I can handle a thing like this, it's nothing before me. He said it while he began to launch his explosions against that shield while he was trying to do something, while the villainess just looked at this as if it were nothing. Tengai. It seems like you don't understand, you just can't handle me, I surpass you by a lot, even though it doesn't seem like it. Bakugo. Shut your damn mouth, don't think you can beat me, I'm the strongest soldier, and I swear I will destroy this shield if it's the last thing I do. He said it while he began to crack himself for such a thing only for it to begin to get bigger until he managed to destroy it only to pass against the villain who could not do anything to avoid the attack of the ash-haired man who only remained in the form of a winner. Todoroki. Until you finished. Bakugo. Anyway now I have to help you damn half. At that he saw how everyone was frozen, making him angry for such a thing. Todoroki. I finished my fight. Bakugo. I already saw it. At one point they began to notice how the ceiling began to fall as a result of Izuku's battle against Overhaul, who only managed to separate themselves from each other while they stared at each other as the villain sent anything against them, be it peaks or pillars of anything being that they tried to give him, but the young man was only destroying everything until at one point the ceiling began to fall completely. Kirishima. This is bad, the whole place is going to fall into pieces and we're underneath it. Rappa. Who the hell cares about that, we have to keep fighting. At one point more debris that was larger was falling as Todoroki began to make an ice ceiling, while Kirishima noticed how some were about to fall on the distracted villain, making him have no choice but to go towards her to throw her to the floor, remaining on top of her while was beginning to bear the weight of the rubble. When all the rubble finished falling, the only one standing was Overhaul who just looked at all this as if it were nothing. Overhaul. Looks like I already won with this. At one point he saw how the rubble began to move, with Izuku ending up getting out of it while at another, it was Todoroki who lifted everything with his ice and ending with Kirishima, who could see that the armor was damaged because some electricity was there. Coming out. Izuku. It seems that you are really strong, but you still have problems defeating me. At one point the boys began to notice something. Todoroki. The heroines are getting closer. Bakugo. We have to go now, we can't stay. Kirishima. My armor isn't quite right, now it has parts that need to be fixed. Bakugo. Then we have to go. Rappa. Wait Red, we still have things to settle between us, I can't let you go like it's nothing. But that they began to fly, although Kirishima had some difficulty due to the damage to his armor. Todoroki. We have to go Izuku, we can't stay. Izuku. You better go, I'll take care of Overhaul. Bakugo. But we can't leave you alone, those women are going to have you again. Izuku. I know but there will be time for my rescue now go. With that, they had no choice but to leave the place, not being able to do anything for their partner, although Kirishima had more problems than before because now he had Rappa's pursuit being a problem at that time. Overhaul. I advise you to give up, you don't have a chance with me. Izuku. Well, I'm sorry to give bad news, but I'm not good at giving up. At one point they began to hear someone walking only to see that on top of everything was All For One, who had a smile while he looked at them all. Overhaul. Now she's coming, it looks like you're in trouble. All For One. I actually came to help my future fiancé, I think you can take that as me being against you. Overhaul. That doesn't matter, I plan to finish you off anyway. The villain was about to attack, but at one point All For One was passing by her only for her to fall unconscious to the floor due to a blow that not even Izuku was able to see in time that the villain did while having a smile on her face. Izuku. You really are strong, it seems that the time we faced each other you simply underestimated me. All For One. Yes, now I have to think about your punishment. He said it while he looked at the young man who only had her gaze on him. Chapter 28. At the academy, Izuku was alone again in his supposed cell, although more than that it was a grape room where the young man only stood firm without doing anything more than waiting until he noticed how some people began to enter, being the women who stared. To the young man who was left without doing anything about it for that very reason. Oh girl. Do you know what you caused, boy? Izuku. I really don't know, and maybe it would be good if they told me once and for all, since they are in front of me. And Devora. You made us look like we have no control, as if you were really someone who is capable of doing whatever you want all the time. That's what you made us look like, idiots, and we can't tolerate that lack of respect that you have and are against. Izuku. Excuse me then if I saved you above all by protecting a girl from some villains who shouldn't even do such bad things. I'm really sorry if that's the case, to show that I can still do good despite everything being found against me. At that the women closed their mouths but did not continue as an explosion distracted them. Oh girl. What was that? Nisa. Whatever the villains are, I swear we'll lock them up. The women began to run while Izuku arrived to do the same to notice how there were some people fighting, some women who flew away only for one moment to the next. Izuku ended up receiving a blow to his stomach, causing him to spit blood, apart from affecting his necklace. Anti-quirks causing him to fly away, and when he hit a wall, the necklace broke completely leaving the young man free, while the women saw the cause of this who began to walk towards him. Man. I heard about a boy with powers like quirks. I think you are that young man, and I am interested in fighting you. Izuku. So you are the man that my boys told me, someone who works on his behalf, Garu, if I'm wrong. He said it with a smile as he looked at the white-haired boy who had the same smile without hesitation. Garu. So we meet at the end of all this, I think we can do something about it. Izuku. I would like to know why you came directly to this place. Garu. I thought it was quite obvious. I thought I would test the power contained in the supposedly strongest man in the world with my own hands. Izuku. So that's what you want. I don't think I have much choice but to fulfill it right now. The young man got into a combat pose while the human monster came to do the same with a smile. Oh girl. What's going on? All For One. It seems like we finally have someone who wants to fight Izuku, even if it's a bit suicidal to be honest. Nisa. But we also have no idea what can happen in this fight, we must take many things into account. The wind passed by moving some leaves until Garu launched himself against Izuku who did the same, bumping fists making a slight current of air, followed by the young man trying to land a kick on the man, but he easily dodged him to do the same. Connecting a blow to Izuku's stomach causing him to be sent to crash against a wall where he remained for a few moments until he dodged a kick from Garu, who had a smile to continue attacking without any breaks, until Izuku in a moment managed to stop his blows with ease to be able to connect a knee, followed by a blow to the face of the human monster that managed to retreat only for the young man to continue attacking but letting out a little electricity from his body where he connected another blow to Garu's face, followed by the rest of attacks on his body without having any breaks until he was about to continue, but when he tried his arm was taken by the human monster who had a smile. Garu. Hey boy, don't get too excited otherwise you may end up badly, I'm really telling you. Izuku. Damn, you're really going to be a bigger problem than I thought. The human monster just happened to kick the boy, causing him to spit blood, while Garu's hair began to change color like one of his eyes, surprising the girls, because then there really came to be another man with enough power to connect. A series of punches and kicks through Izuku's body causing him to fly, crashing into a wall followed by him falling on top of him. Garu. I heard that you are strong, very strong, so I want to see where that monster strength is that they say so much that you have. Izuku. Just wait a little while, it's the warm-up. Garu. Then come with everything. When the boy heard that, he only made a barricade on the floor with the man's leg, causing him to lose his balance, followed by a turn to land a kick on his face, and with his own arms, he jumped to connect a sledgehammer blow, causing him to hit the man. He was on the floor for a few moments until he ended up receiving a blow from it, causing him to twist before the man's strength, only to dodge more of his blows, until he managed to take advantage when he saw an opening, where he went on to connect a direct blow to his mouth. Stomach causing him to spit saliva followed by him ending up receiving a crowbar on his neck that sent him crashing into a wall to the smile of the young man who only stared at him. Izuku. Come on, don't tell me that's all you have, human monster, because I'm not done yet. The young man launched himself against Garu again, and he only happened to dodge a kick to try to hit him with his hand, and he managed to see the end pass through Izuku, who only had water in his body, surprising him, followed by receiving some blows at full speed from the young man where he had the flames to enhance the damage as electricity that he let out of his body in order to increase the speed, being that he managed to make him retreat, who could only cover himself until at one point he ended up receiving a kick at his face that sent him through some trees, where the young man launched himself against him again to end the matter by landing a direct blow to his stomach. All for one. The result was quite obvious. I was not going to be able to cope with it. Momo. At least the fight is over and I managed to win. Melissa. Now we just have to have the opportunity to be able to put an end to these issues by being able to close some things. The girls were about to continue doing their thing, while Izuku could only open his eyes while he watched as his fist connected with Garu's stomach but nevertheless did nothing to him. Now his appearance was different, his body seemed like a hard stone all over, black, white bandages on his legs and a little on his back, apart from some bright red lines coming out of his body. Izuku. What the hell just happened? Garu. You didn't do bad at all, boy, now I want to see how far your human potential goes and if you are capable of standing up to me. But that he went on to land a blow that Izuku managed to block although he was sent flying, crashing into the floor making a cloud of dust which when he left Izuku, found himself with his arm trembling on the side where he ended up receiving the blow. Izuku. Damn it, if I hadn't activated my toughness at those moments, that blow would have undoubtedly destroyed my arm completely. Melissa. What's going on? Izuku. Better stay away, it's actually a very serious matter, more so than I really anticipated. He said it while he watched as Garu walked towards him little by little, only for him to disappear from one second to the next, making him surprised by that, but it was even more when he heard that he was behind him. Garu. Not bad brat, there are few who managed to get me to this form, but it's over, you reached this point unfortunately, and that's where it ends. Izuku. I say when it's over. The boy let out his electricity while trying to land a direct blow on Garu, but he was no longer in the place, surprising him because he ended up receiving a direct blow to his stomach that sent him flying, and he rose into the air, where above Garu ended up appearing to connect a sledgehammer blow, followed by appearing below him, where he went on to give him a kick that sent him to the other side. But it was not enough as he again gave him another hook blow, causing him to come out and crash against the floor, leaving him he was badly injured, but little by little he got up. Garu. Not bad, you still want to fight me even though you know you can't beat me. Izuku. It doesn't matter, I should be able to do something to you even if it's just a scratch. The human monster noticed how some slight leaks came out of its body, it started to have claws like fangs, apart from the fact that its eyes became a yellow hue, little by little, it noticed how its muscles increased only for it to launch itself against it at full speed. Connecting a blow to his face making him retreat, not leaving the opportunity to continue attacking different parts of that body using his electricity for speed, fire to potential blows, his hardness to ensure that he received the greatest possible damage, wind to being able to secure the cuts and water to move in an even more agile way. In this way, the young man managed to maintain a fight against the human monster without problems, being that he was really doing his best to face him until at one point he ended up hitting his face so that he would stay still for a few moments, thinking that it was going to be he was capable of ending everything with a final blow, but instead he ended up being dodged by Garu, while the one who stopped was Izuku due to a blow that he ended up receiving to his stomach. Garu. You're not doing a bad job at all, but unfortunately at the end of the day the strongest among the two of us is me, it's a shame, but if you want advice you should get stronger so that later you can fight me again if possible, and let's see who ends up being the winner of that fight. As he said that he made his fist rotate, causing a current of air to send the green-haired man flying, letting out a stream of blood, worrying everyone who saw how he fell to the floor unconscious, losing that form, while Garu only stared at him to run away. The same way. Nisa. Now we have to take him to the infirmary. We can't leave him in this place. Oh girl. But what about that thing that escaped? And Devora. We'll go, we must catch him before he completely escapes from us, I can't let him walk away as if nothing had happened. Nisa. They just have to bring him alive, there are questions that we have to ask him in order to know exactly what is happening. The two nodded their heads as they began to leave, while on the girl's side, they saw how the unconscious young man was taken away. Melissa. He must be okay, Izuku is strong, although I can't believe another man with power like that really existed. Momo. The important thing now is to go see Izuku, we can't just leave him like he is right now. Tomi. Then let's go as soon as possible, they may or may not be minor injuries. The girls began to go after the young man thinking that they could do what they could to help him in whatever way they could, although they had no idea what they were going to be able to do. Chapter 29. In the Academy Hospital Izuku was in the same medical wing without being able to do anything about the injuries he had, thanks to the attacks of Garu himself. The human monster managed to defeat the young man with a quirk that did the impossible. To be able to face the same being that only barely woke up from the beating that he ended up receiving for the moment. Izuku. What the hell happened to me? Being as if a train had hit me and then it was a truck. The boy could not continue in the same way because he received a hug from the girls where they only stayed next to him, although they noticed how he showed a look of pain causing them to move away from him. Momo. I'm so sorry, it's just that we saw you wake up after the fight you had, and we're glad to see you. Izuku. Yes, I know it's normal, I think they simply didn't hold back in the face of the things that happened. Tomi. By the way, it seemed like you knew that man before. Izuku. If indeed it is that way, when I was with my group they simply kept working on the missions, that was until I managed to hear of such a proclaimed human monster by men. Kasumi. It was when you met Garu, I imagine. Izuku. Indeed, at that time I went directly to Garu so I could ask him to come to my group, that way he would join without problems, and we would be stronger. Old girl. What happened? Izuku. Well, I don't accept it apparently, so I left it alone. All for one. If he refused to join your party then there's no point in him coming to challenge you in a fight. Izuku. There is actually a meaning within all of this. Sigh. And what could it have been? Izuku. Surely he must have heard that the women kidnapped me, so when he was interested in that type of thing, he went directly to this place to be able to test my strength, since it was shown on the news how I managed to destroy my own base without problems, or rather I would have been without problems, except because you attacked my entire body. Mina. So you had no idea that he was actually capable of standing up to you. Izuku. In fact, I did have an idea from the beginning. My instincts make it clear to me when someone is extremely dangerous, especially because I have them in front of me. It is much easier to know if they are a danger or not, and that was when the fight happened. Nisa. If it is that way it makes no sense that you are facing him. Izuku. Let's say that I did it out of my own free will, I just wanted to have the opportunity to fight against him, no matter what things happened to me. Momo. And didn't you think of us, silly? Izuku. I'm sorry, I did it out of pride as well as instinct, I couldn't help it, every part of my body demanded that I accept the fight and do my best to face it. He said it while he was trying to cover himself from the annoying girl who soon the rest would accompany him, they would be able to finish off the young man if it weren't for a person's voice. Nisa. Before you start I have something important to tell you. Izuku. What's wrong, director? Nisa. What happens is that it turns out that lately the government has been watching recordings of your actions because of everything you did even when you were locked up in our place. It seems that we will be able to get you out in a short time, which is good for you. Izuku. There must be something more to all this. Nisa. Yes, apparently thanks to your friends who helped you during the attack among other things, we simply have no other options than to forgive them and let them return as they should be. There are no other options other than we can finally lock up the villains. He said it while they began to confront the villains where they prepared for a direct fight. Izuku. Wait a minute, there's no need to fight. Old girl. What are you talking about? Endivora. It's true, as far as I remember they tried to destroy the city many times without saying that miserable all for one tried to grape you, therefore we should arrest them now that we have the opportunity. Izuku. Yes, I know that happened and more things, but since they were inside the academy, there were no movements of the villains on the part of their entire group, they only focused on good things like fighting against the liberation army, that I understand it quite well apart from the fact that I know other things, like some of them think about letting themselves be villains. All for one. How do you know that? Kuro. It's true, we focused exclusively on preventing these kinds of things from getting out. Izuku. Well, I am a person with enormous networks of knowing many things, among those networks is Himiko Toga as an ally on my part. On saying that, some looked at Toga who had a smile while she went to stand next to the green-haired man. Toga. I think there are simply no options but to accept reality, I was part of all this. Tomu. That's why you always stayed one step ahead of us, you really are a damn genius who hasn't proven anything other than this. Izuku. Well, now that we can understand each other a little better, I just want us to be able to get along well for the moment, nothing more than that. Nisa. If it is that way, I want you to say something important that only you know and that way we will gain confidence, even if it is a little or not at all in you. All for one. Well, in that case I am going to tell you an important matter, the doctor with whom you work for the League of Villains in charge of creating the Nomus is working on a new project, the Nomus being high-end, the Nomus being capable to think for themselves. Aiza. In a few words, Nomus intelligent, we did not see that before with our eyes. All for one. Exactly, they are very dangerous because they surpass the other normal Nomus in terms of power, but nevertheless I had planned to tell Izuku to be careful, even asking him for help personally to fight a special Nomu. But those words everyone remained silent as they looked at the villainess who was in a thoughtful manner. Old girl. Now what did you do? All for one. Well, we created a perfect Nomu capable of fighting on par with me in terms of power. His strength is truly something that they could never see before in their lives. We call him Gigantomachia. From the beginning he was going to be in charge of destroy the entire city like murdering people, as it is our weapon of mass destruction. Nisa. And what happened? All for one. Well, I cancelled the doctor's project shortly after being able to meet Izuku because I had big plans, but the doctor is simply sick when talking about Nomus, since he himself was in charge of having a secret base where I don't know its location. And I leave all the Nomus inside, including Gigantomachia, to be able to complete it, and it is surely not far from being able to use it. Oh girl. Did you create a monster to destroy us? You are a miserable wretch, now you are going to end badly. Izuku. Wait a minute, all girl. The young man began to get up little by little from his stretcher, causing the boy to begin to worry about what he was doing. Tomi. Don't try hard, you could end up badly. Alyssa. It's actually true, you don't have to move much. They saw how the boy took a few steps in front of everyone while he looked villain number one in the eyes. Izuku. It is true that you created a monster, but nevertheless you are confessing every bad part that comes, as you know quite well about the matter. That shows that there are possibilities for you to change despite being a villain from 9 generations ago. It doesn't matter, we can help you. Besides, this can also help us to get rid of these silly slave rules like men are of no use. Aiza. Now what do you mean? Izuku. She says that in a few words it is in a secret base. Well, the best in knowing secret bases is my group. We study each secret base in this place to have an idea of where people can move. Knowing well everything that is, I can have an idea about the matter we are in. Now if you allow me, I need a phone. They all looked at the young man so they could go get one. With Todoroki, he was waiting to begin a direct attack on the city to save his partner, his friend, his boss, until he began to receive a call. Todoroki. What's happening? Izuku. Good news, friend, it seems that soon we will be able to live in peace as we always dreamed of, so I need you at the academy as soon as possible. Come with all our men as weapons, we will need a lot of help at the end of all this. Todoroki. Okay, but I can't understand your plan, because if we go, all the women will know and they will come after us. Izuku. Just listen to me, friend, at the end of everything we will have the opportunity to fulfill the dream we always wanted. Even that, the Vickler had no choice but to leave while he contacted the rest of his companions. Bakugo. Now what's happening? Todoroki. The attack on the city is cancelled, we need to go directly to the academy. Lita. But if we do that we run a great danger. Todoroki. I know, but Izuku called me a few moments ago and seems to have a plan up his sleeve, so let's go as soon as possible. The entire group began to leave the place, and when they arrived they only saw how the green-haired boy was leaving with a smile, apart from going with a wheelchair towards his old army. Haminari. What happened to you, friend? Izuku. Nothing, I had a small fight against Geru the human monster. Todoroki. That answers a lot of things, but it doesn't answer why you wanted us to come. Izuku. But our army. Lita. You know how this works. Izuku. It's true, girls, come on, they don't bite much. They saw how the villains began to emerge as professors at the academy. Bakugo. What are you planning to do? Izuku. There is a way to reach peace, to have the dream we always wanted is within our reach, but the only thing that interferes with this is a damn crazy doctor that contains Nomus. There are normal ones as well as others that are more dangerous than they are considered high-end. They look stronger than the normal ones, as well as having special characteristics. But the worst of all is the one called Gigantomachia. That type of Nomu is the worst of all despite being only one, we need to find them. The group looked at him a little, thinking about the matter, especially how they were going to be able to move until they gave their friend a smile. Todoroki. You're still our damn kamikaze, suicidal leader after all, just tell us what we're looking for so we can have an idea of the matter. Izuku. Well, there are hundreds of containers capable of housing people of at most 3 meters, and at the minimum in size, we must have a base in mind that contains the main function of experiments, such as storage in this matter, to be able to go after that old man. Todoroki. Well, let us look for her right now as we take care of every friend, at the end of everything you will be able to have that supposed doctor trapped. Izuku. Thank you, I'm counting on you. She said it while he watched how they began to turn around so they could go in search of that person based on the boy's specifications. Todoroki. Come on, we all have to go, you've heard our captain and his specifications, let the hunt begin. At that point, the girls saw, surprised, how camouflage people began to move from the trees like some airplanes. And Devora. Is that your group? Izuku. Yes, and to think that you were making fun of my group from the beginning, but now you depend on them to be able to save the city that was responsible for leaving them on the margins of society. Now if they leave me, I just want to go back. He said it as he began to leave with his wheelchair, making it clear that he wanted to rest a little because his body was still tired from the battle he waged against a human monster. Chapter 30. In the laboratory the doctor only looked at his nomus, knowing perfectly well that they were in an increasingly better state, having a smile as if it were nothing to have them even at the high end, and he managed to do everything on his own accord. Doctor? This is much simpler than I thought. Without the villains having to follow them all the time, I can create all the nomus I want, make improvements to the high-end ones, and my dear Gigantomachia, my weapon of supreme destruction, you will soon be make society tremble. Before he continued watching more reports, he noticed a knock on the door so that he could see on one of the screens that it was a group of men. Man. Excuse me, Doc, but we bring you everything he told us to look for. Doctor? Every quirk cell I wanted is more people to give them quirks. Man. Yes, everything is actually inside this box. Doctor? Okay, just let my nomus take it and that's it. Man. Whatever you want. He said it while he watched as the nomus began to appear, taking the shipment before being able to leave the place on foot, and the doctor only had a smile. Doctor? I still can't believe that they are so idiotic to believe that I actually give them a quirk. They are only going to be part of my nomus army, more and more of them. He looked more and more at his reports, while Izuku watched everything that was happening from afar. And Devora. The package arrived. Izuku? Yes, now the group can carry out the first part of the plan. Some listened so that they began to press some buttons, causing the nomus themselves to begin to hear the noise of a clock that was going faster and faster inside the box, making them look at each other before it managed to explode into hundreds of pieces. Causing the doctor himself to tremble a little. Doctor? What the hell was that? I was able to see how from the screens their machines were on fire like other things. Toga? What was the next part of the plan? Izuku? Destroy and kill all the nomus that come across along the way. Everyone paid attention while they attacked the place where that doctor only ended up getting angry at seeing such a thing. Doctor? This time I really don't like anything I'm seeing, without a doubt I'll finish them all once and for all. When he said that, he just let go of his nomus who launched themselves against the other group, starting a battle in the forest, where clearly the women were beginning to have difficulty just like the nomus in that battle, although for others it was not too big a problem. Among them all for one that just by approaching one of them ended up exploding into pieces. Izuku? You don't look too happy by the looks of it. All for one. The nomus idea to create them was mine, that bastard is going to pay me dearly for having done this type of thing. Izuku? And it's certainly not going to end well at the end of the day. The young man managed to avoid one of the nomus to respond with a blow that sent him through more of them. Doctor? It seems like we're starting off well, but it's better if you let my high ends go, although Gigantomachia I think you're going to have to wake up early. The doctor only began to let them free by making them go on the attack against the heroines who began to notice the difference between the high-end and the normal ones being too big since not all of them managed to maintain a constant fight until Izuku was jumped. Layers of being able to launch an electric discharge that left them stunned for moments before it launched a certain amount of fire, ending with touching the floor so that spikes came out through their bodies, only for All for One to arrive, and with a single attack they were capable of doing that become history. All for One. I think the best thing is to be able to have a child. Izuku? Are you kidding me? We find ourselves fighting against creatures that can kill us in seconds, and you only think about having a child. All for one. Don't blame me, you have to blame yourself. Izuku? What about me? I did not do anything. All for one. Having a very powerful quirk, being adorable, are two of hundreds of things I can put on the list. All girl. The two of you better concentrate on fighting, we don't have time for that. Aiza. It is more important to me to know where the support is because we cannot continue fighting this way, they take too much ground from us. Izuku? Just wait a moment more and everything will be ready. With his words they only waited a little longer before noticing how the sky was being illuminated by some missiles that fell on the nomus, causing them to explode into hundreds of pieces where Izuku's group managed to appear on one side, starting with a shot. Todoroki? Everyone remember, we must concentrate on attacking the nomus especially, if you see a heroine in trouble you must help her. Bakugo? You don't need to remind me, idiot. Iida? I hope this kind of thing doesn't lead to an internal conflict. The group managed to start helping the heroines by taking control of things again, destroying every part of what they found around the place. All girl? I don't remember that there are so many nomus around the place or that they had so many. All for one. It's just that he clearly had to get more from somewhere. All girl? Where from? All for one. Possibly you have made deals with the Liberation Army or with other groups such as Overhaul. There are many things that I have no idea about since I met you. At one point they heard a roar so they could see how the same Gigantomachia began to emerge from the base, looking at everyone like insects, giving a fairly big roar, since in the face of such a thing, he was thinking of launching himself against everyone at the same time, but Izuku was still faster being the first to collide with Gigantomachia himself, causing them to go elsewhere. Bakugo? Where the hell are you taking him? Todoroki? Anywhere but close to us, he's clearly trying to do just that. Uruko. It's better that way, we already have enough problems with high-end ones. On the other hand, Gigantomachia ended up in a part of the forest with quite high mountains and alone with Izuku who just stared at him. Gigantomachia. I will kill you, I must kill you. Izuku. You can speak, so you are capable of thinking on your own. Gigantomachia. Of course, if I can think on my own, you damn idiot, I'm not like the rest, but rather I'm the perfect Nomu, you should be clear about that. Izuku. Maybe, but if you are capable of thinking on your own then I ask that you stop this attack, try not to fight anymore, and we will reach peace in a short time. Gigantomachia. As if I did that, the doctor created me by collecting a large number of quirks, it is my opportunity to demonstrate my loyalty to him for everything he did with me. Izuku. Do you mean by turning into a monster? That's not being a real man, you're just a puppet that guy doesn't care if it's destroyed or ruined. Gigantomachia. Shut your mouth. The enormous being began to drag its hand along the ground, throwing different things from the ground, rocks and trees, towards the young man who, faced with this fact, had to dodge it in order to appear on the side of Gigantomachia, connecting a blow with all his strength, doing everything possible to be able to generate a good amount of damage, but I can see how he couldn't do anything, so that he only received a blow from Gigantomachia himself, causing him to fly off and collide with a rock. Izuku. My attack didn't do anything to him, not even when I let out some electricity did I show any pain, maybe his sensitivity is zero. Gigantomachia. That's what you're wrong, my skin and my organs are like a stone, it's impossible for you to hurt me in any way while I maintain this shape. Izuku. We'll see about that. The young man managed to put his hands on the floor, causing two giant spikes to come out of the floor, which tried to stab Gigantomachia, who managed to stop them by grabbing the tip, although it made him retreat a little, but he was able to break them and throw himself back into the ground. Attack against the young man who only did the same, beginning to dodge his attacks to attack left and right, avoiding as much as possible that he managed to do anything to him, until he was taken by surprise to be picked up and thrown against the floor, making his body tremble. The same place where he was just beginning to get up was stepped on by the same Gigantomachia, who raised his foot again to step with even more force than before. Gigantomachia. Learn one thing, I am strong, I am intelligent, I am everything a man should be, something you will never achieve. Izuku. The less you are a human and the less you are a human, the less you are going to be a man. At his comment it only took him to throw it somewhere. Everything was seen by the doctor who only had a smile before taking some things, leaving everything in a cart for which he began to leave. Doctor. I think that from this point my work is finished, I have nothing more to do in this place. The man just left while Izuku was receiving each blow on his body, without being able to do anything until he was thrown towards a part of the mountain where Gigantomachia managed to reach where he was in one jump, so he could crush him with his fists, giving each blow with more strength than the previous one. Gigantomachia. Now what are you going to do? I am above everyone, even above you. Before he was able to deliver another blow, he ended up flying away while only one being remained in front of him. Izuku. I didn't want to use this form, but it seems that I have no choice but to use it if I really have the desire to finish you off as soon as possible. Gigantomachia could only see a big change in the young man's body as his hair became black as the night itself, reaching his waist, a black body with yellow lines, along with even smaller orange lines on his body. He reached to have bones above his body on the part of the chest like that of his face, where he managed to reflect like a kind of four eyes that shone in an orange tone, as well as rays of that color surrounding his body, ending with a tail which it had some spikes in it. Izuku. I hope you're ready Gigantomachia, because from this point on I'm going to finish you off and don't think I'm going to show mercy. He said it while Gigantomachia's body began to be afraid of the form that the young man in front of him assumed as if it were nothing. Chapter 31. On that battlefield the young man walked towards the enormous being, of which he saw perfectly how that boy with each step let out certain waves of destruction around him, as if he did not have some kind of limitations. Izuku. What's going on? Don't tell me you're scared. Gigantomachia only became bigger, completely ignoring his instincts that perfectly warned him that he should run. He didn't have to stay, he should run as fast as he could and never look back. Izuku. You really don't know how much trouble you've gotten yourself into, you damned monstrosity. He mentioned while he watched as Gigantomachia raised his arm with clear intentions of wanting to crush him. By doing so, the young man managed to block it with great ease before having a smile, even though the floor where he was ended up being destroyed by the force of the enormous being. Izuku. You didn't have to do that. He only responded with a blow to the monster's abdomen, causing it to fly away, leaving a wave of destruction behind the young man who he saw as he ended up on the floor where he writhed in pain. The doctor, who saw everything from a distance, could not believe that his greatest creation actually felt pain when the Nomus were made not to feel it, and considering that Gigantomachia was his perfect Nomu, it was something impossible. The young man managed to treat him like a rag doll by hitting him at different points without having any problems before being able to take him by the leg in order to lift him up and begin to hit him with different points in the area, causing him to end up certainly injured despite the fact that he healed his wounds at a great speed. Although he could not withstand much when he was thrown towards another part where when he hit a mountain he could not stay there but managed to cross it to go through more mountains until he finally stopped where on top of it. The young man landed with an axe kick, causing him to spit blood for such a thing, before being able to grab him by the face and hit him against the floor again. He just began to walk on top of him where he managed to rest his leg on top of the enormous being and put his arm on top of his leg to look at him with clear superiority. Izuku. What happens, Gigantomachia? Aren't you supposed to be the perfect Nomu? He asked her sarcastically before letting his tongue hang out where in the distance, through some drones, the heroines could see the things that were happening. All for one. I definitely want that new way. All girl. Because right now he doesn't seem like the same Izuku as always, the one we all know. All for one. Maybe, but have you seen his language yet? He said it while he was referring to how long he was. This clearly made the other heroines look at the biggest villain in all of Japan a little strange. All girl. You are completely depraved, you know. All for one. Maybe, but don't tell me. The heroine could not respond, she only had a blush in her eyes before turning her gaze because of what they were saying to her. All for one. You can see it, you are no saint, and neither am I. She mentioned the woman while they tried to stay calm. The young man just went on to grab the enormous being who managed to take the young man off with one blow. Gigantomachia. Miserable. I am the perfect Nomu. I was made to be the only male in this world with powers. No one can defeat me, I will kill you. Every time it got bigger and bigger in front of the young man who kept a smile, being that it managed to be the same size as a mountain, blocking part of the sun, but the young man didn't care because he shone in the dark as if he had no problem. Gigantomachia. I am Gigantomachia, and when I'm done with you, I'm going to accomplish all the things you thought of doing in life, prove that men can fight, demonstrate my capabilities. And when I manage to do all that, I plan to go after the bitches of your fiancés, and I plan to grape them until they manage to scream my name from all the winds and do not get tired to the point that they want more of me. Those were the words of the being that was looking at the young man, who clearly did not like any of this since he erased the smile from his face before showing a serious touch with clear anger in his gaze where he began to walk, and unlike before, now it really caused a truly destruction wherever the young man passed before being able to see the enormous Nomu where he created orange flames of his energy which, due to the immense heat they were giving off, became blue, even burning the things around him due to his mere presence. Izuku. You made the worst mistake of your life, and now I won't forgive you for a single second of your life. Did you hear that right? The perfect Nomu just wanted to hit him, but when he raised his arm, he was shocked to see how the young man in a matter of seconds stood in front of him to lightly grab his face. Izuku. You shit. After mentioning that, he hit him with a blow that managed to destroy his entire face, taking him back a few steps before giving him another blow to the jaw where he was sent directly towards the sky, where the young man went directly towards Gigantomachia where he hit him with his two fists at the same time. Time to be able to take him to the chasm of the place where he managed to reach the space where no one would be harmed. Izuku. This place will be your damn grave. He mentioned before giving one last blow with which the sky everyone saw an enormous light where even the darkness of space was illuminated by such a thing. Only the young man was left floating without his flames, although he had barely any of them left. Izuku. Let's get this over with. He quickly went to another part where all for one and all girl decided to go after the doctor, who locked himself in a room surrounded by nomas where the two women were prepared to finish him off. Especially because thanks to the drones they already knew perfectly well that the doctor also planned to use them as simple whores. In the end the roof was destroyed by Izuku, who upon entering managed to surprise them, but not the nomas who attacked the young man who only saw them. Inside a room, the dock was protected by steel doors like glass, proof of any kind of attack, but he saw the door explode with his nomas shattered and the young man entering, more than annoyed, who did not look happy at all next to the room. Villain and heroine. Doctor. My nomas, you miserable brat, how dare you do this? The young man did not limit any words, he only approached the glass to destroy it with one blow, scaring the man before being taken by the collar of his clothes and being lifted by the young man, who looked at him with great anger where he had already returned to normal. Izuku. Tell me something, did your Noma really plan to do that with them? Did you really have that in mind? Doctor. Just Gigantomachia. Please, if this went as my plan said, it would without a doubt be that way. I would make each woman receive the seed of my nomas. I was not going to have any mercy with any of them, above all for one and all girl. Day and night they would be bucked by my nomas, and I would have no mercy with their bodies. Even I thought I would enjoy them and see how they went from being so arrogant to being bucking sluts, but that doesn't matter anymore because you destroyed everything, and now I will clearly be locked up in Tartars. All girl. In itself it was a very big battle and many wounded as well as dead. Without a doubt the doctor responsible for all these problems out of pride preferred to die rather than be locked up. The woman's words surprised everyone since Izuku, and the doctor couldn't believe that she really said that, and All for One, who was the same, happened to have an evil smile. All for One. It's true, I know you quite well, Doc, because we worked together on the Noma project, and without a doubt your pride does not allow you to be locked up, but it does allow you to die. Doctor. How can you say such nonsense? You forget that He couldn't continue after receiving a blow from Izuku, causing his head to explode everywhere. He himself gave a sigh as he scratched his head at such a thing. Izuku. Well, I guess at least this is all over and we can all rest from now on. The young man turned around and was hugged by the villainess who, due to the emotion of seeing him murder someone without any remorse, could not help but want to hug him and put her breasts in the young man's face. All for One. Speaking of which, I think now that the whole Nomus villain thing is over, we can plan our honeymoons and everything. The young man blushed because of something said by the villainess who, upon noticing this, began to hide her face between her breasts. All for One. There is no reason to be ashamed. In the end, remember that as a special treatment, we will be together in one way or another. Do you remember that? All girl. What are you doing? It's not even the time to be able to do that kind of thing. All girl had a smile at such a thing that her new partner said. He immediately moved to be behind the heroine where, even though he let go of the young man, he saw how the villainess passed her hands under the heroine's arms, only to lift him up and partially touch her breasts, eventually raising and lowering him. This clearly raised a blush on the heroine, who was embarrassed by what her rival was doing. You can calm down a little, remember that you have enough to offer him, and the two of us can have a good time with him. She only blushed because of this and more because the green-haired boy looked at them long enough to have a few small laughs about such a thing. Izuku. I guess it would be good to go home, another time we can talk about this kind of thing, don't you think? He mentioned the girls who accepted his request to leave the conversation at another time. He himself wiped his hands before being able to walk next to them in order to leave the place where they left behind the body of the already dead doctor so as to forget all the little war they had and finally have a proper rest as they should for their part. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.